Hello and welcome to Money Life. This is Sucheta Dalal. So we're going to talk a little more about the Himalayan Baba who was running the world's biggest derivatives exchange, the National Stock Exchange. So I'm going to talk about two or three things this time. One is how instead of investigating what was the co-location scam, SEBI was busy trying to bury it, put an end to it, so that the National Stock Exchange can go ahead its initial public offering and get listed. Why? Because everybody has shares in NSE which were purchased at as low as 1,000. They expect the valuation to be 4 or 5. So people want to make money. Some want to exit, which is large institutions who are among their shareholders. And things like scams can just be buried. It doesn't matter that it makes things unsafe. The third thing that I'm going to point out is now that the Central Bureau of Investigation has come in, what is it that it should be looking at? So, let me say that the best laid plans of the Securities and Exchange Board of India, as well as the National Stock Exchange, the Finance Ministry, large institutional investors, all with one single point agenda, make the IPO, get NSE listed so that we can all encash on our long investment. This has come to a grinding halt, believe it or not, by a formless Himalayan yogi or Siddha Purush with an email ID called rigyajursama.outlook@outlook.com. People in India would say that's how karma works. Man proposes, God disposes. You may have any plans, but in this case, Chitra's guru had or heard revelation that she was being guided by the Siddha Purush has caused such shockwaves around the world that the government was forced to bring in the Central Bureau of Investigation. CBI was already in 2018. It had come to a halt because, like I said, making an IPO, bearing NSE's problems was everybody's agenda. So now that same case has been reactivated and CBI is all over the place questioning people. Clearly, the market regulator was clueless about the kind of shock and anger that would be created by the information that India, the tech savvy nation, where any global TV serial has the Indian acting as a tech expert, was run by a Himalayan guru. Is that what our technology is about? It's embarrassing and it is shameful. It has led to shock and ridicule around the world. So, like I said, enter CBI, which is now going to investigate. So, what was it? What are the key investigations that need to be done? I have written a separate exclusive report where I pointed to two hidden investigations. You want to see that report? Look at our Money Life website. Without even completing these two investigations, SEBI has already given a clean chit in 2019, literally saying that there was no fraud, no personal involvement of top management. So some small little slap on the wrist is enough. Now, these two investigations that are ongoing are these. The first, that the Indian School of Business was asked to look at who profited and how much, what is the extent of profit sharing in the colo scam. For those who don't know, let me explain in one line what is a colo scam. Colo stands for co-location. What is co-location? It is that large institutional investors have their servers parked inside the National Stock Exchange premises because they used algorithms, computer algorithms, to push through millions and millions of trades which are pre-programmed in an algorithm in nanoseconds, okay, small fractions of a second. And so those who are closest to the exchange and the exchange's mainframe are able to push their orders first, get them matched, and whoever reaches the server first makes a lot of money. We've written a whole book on this scam. I exposed it in 2015, led to a defamation case. All that is history. The size of the scam is variously, depending on where you come from or your interest, it's huge. Some have even put it as high as 50,000 crore. Now, ISP Hyderabad was supposed to look at it. Typical of NSE, or typical of how SEBI has been doing this investigation, instead of asking ISB directly to do it and report to it, it tells NSE, you appoint someone. NSE conveniently appoints the Indian School of Business, to which it donates large amounts of money to run a technology lab and to hold seminars and lectures. Now, conflict of interest. SEBI hasn't bothered, but be that as it may, in 2017, it came up with one report about one broker who was mentioned in my first whistleblower letter that I published, OPG Securities. SEBI has then quietly expanded this and wants every broker named who's supposed to have got advantage of the system to be investigated by ISB. The fact that it has done it is a complete secret. SEBI has not talked about it. It holds press conferences, puts up agendas, but none of this is known. There's a second investigation which is being done by a retired judge, Mr. Arvind Samant. This is also a big secret. Now, this investigation is about how it started with a broker having complained that a tech expert is able to go to brokers and say, I can bypass a bridge. It's called I can bypass it so that more of your orders get into the mainframe system. This is being investigated. If you ask me, common sense tells you that this is key to deciding how big was the scam. But not in the public domain, not complete. Instead, we have the whole investigation blown all over the place with Chitra Ramakrishna, the former managing director, saying a Himalayan yogi guided her, the absolutely shocking manner in which a group operating officer, a close friend of hers called Anand Subramaniam, with zero qualifications to be anywhere near the NSE, not only was appointed, paid humongous amounts of money, his previous salary was 15 lakhs in a travel agency subsidiary. He came to the NSE at 1.34 crore, got 6 increments in a matter of 2-3 years, became group operating officer. The fact that he was a key management person is kept hidden. All this has blown up thanks to the Himalayan yogi. Now, CBI has come in. What should CBI be looking at? Should it look at the Colo scam? Fortunately, it is. It is asking questions about it. Does the CBI have the expertise? No. So that is our worry. So here's a list of things that I've compiled on what the CBI should look at. So one is that it should examine why SEBI was so keen on clearing NSE's IPO, even though key investigations that I've talked about are not complete. And how SEBI itself, as the market regulator, has been diluting the punishment of 2019. So what did it do? In August 2021, NSE's annual report has declared all the co-locations over. We are now reapplying for our IPO permission. Before that, two things happened, which is this 11th February order of the Himalayan Guru. Along with that, while this order is creating shockwaves, the same whole-time member Anand Barua submitted a 9-page note to SEBI saying how we should allow NSE to go ahead with this IPO. It's a market infrastructure institution. These kind of issues hota hai, keep happening. So let them make an IPO. That tells you how little the regulator even seems to understand about the gravity of the need for a cleanup, the manner in which NSE is working, having the right people over there, and the gravity of a first-line regulator, which is supposed to implement the listing agreement and ensure good governance by thousands of listed entities. There is no governance in the NSE, and SEBI doesn't seem to get it into its head. So, dilution of what was happening. So, NSE was going to be apply again. Before that, there was money over 6,000 crore in an escrow account. NSE went to the Securities Appellate Tribunal. SEBI kept silent. That money was released. There is no hurry to complete the investigation. Remember, the Colo scam happened in 2015. We are now 7 years later in 2022. Next, CBI should ask, and it is hopefully asking, about the manner of the appointment of Anand Subramaniam, failure to identify him as a key management person to the regulator. What on earth were various board committees? Remember, NSE's committees are packed with luminaries, retired judges, top accountants, retired bureaucrats from the Finance Ministry, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, people who pontificate about good governance for others. What did they do? Before 2015, post 2015, what did they know about the appointment of Anand Subramaniam? Why were all the powers delegated both to him as well as to Chitra? How could these appointments happen under their nose? And If they did, we need to look at NSE structure and administration, as well as whether our good governance rules make any sense at all. And while CBI is at it, it should also probably read our book Absolute Power, because we have talked about the appointment of Ravi Narayan as non-executive vice chairman, saying how dubious it is because you cannot have a non-executive chairman as well as a non-executive vice chairman. So they have massaged and stretched the rules. And remember, SEBI has accepted it. So SEBI's role needs to be looked at. Chitra's own appointment, after all her conversations and emails to the Himalayan guru, now people who don't know anything about the NSE are also shocked that a woman like this was appointed as managing director. Our point is that, did you have an open advertisement? On what basis? Again, a set of luminaries decide that there is no need. We have the perfect person over here. She's employing the perfect advisors without telling them. No matter, fudge all the data, make her the managing director. We have a whole chapter on this in our book, Absolute Power, and I think CBI needs to look at it, because people have to be held accountable, because there's no point in creating endless rules and compliances if nobody is going to comply, and especially if the biggest names in the country, people with experience in government and governance, are not going to follow the rule. Then, who facilitated the smooth exit of Ravi Narayan, Chitra Ramakrishna, Anand Subramaniam, with their perks, recording that, their contribution should be noted. This is a new board of directors. Now, I have said before that this new board of directors was appointed to clean up. They did clean up. This happened in 2016. We are now in 2022. SEBI's order has pulled them up, saying you kept things secret. The fact that they kept things secret is definitely shocking. Why no agenda? Why no minutes? What is sensitive? Because board minutes are not supposed to be public. It has to be questioned. But questions should go back to two other sets of people. One, I learned from my sources that it's not that this board made the decision themselves. They consulted a top law firm, Amarchand Mangaldas, and were given an opinion that they should allow these people to get a graceful exit, not record anything. And there may be criminal cases. What these were, what was the basis of that advice, how correct is it, has to be examined, because you can't just hide everything behind legal advice. Lawyers also have to be accountable for their advice and explain it. So, question is, this happened in 2016. Did SEBI really not ask? Chitra Ramakrishna, remember, was part of the founding team, which means she was with the exchange for 23 to 24 years. Her exit created waves in the capital market because of the suddenness. Is SEBI seriously wanting us to believe that it did not ask anything to the board from 2016 until this order came out on 11th February 2022? Which chairman did they meet? Who did they speak to? What did they say? Did they ever object? Did they say, no, you can't let them resign, you have to sack them? CBI needs to investigate, because it is an independent body. It also needs to ask about a new thing which only Money Life is banging on about, which is that in just about 2 years, while India's investor population has doubled from about 20 million to 40 million, 30 brokers have defaulted on the NSE. 30 is a huge number. At less than half that number, they threw out all brokers from the board of the Bombay Stock Exchange and forced it to become a professionally run exchange. Now it's professional. So what is the risk-based supervision that has been put in place by SEBI? This is mandated by SEBI. Clearly it is not working. What is the risk assessment by NSE? And investors have lost obviously these 30 brokers have investors. They have lost well over 5,000 crore. They're getting nothing from the Investor Protection Fund, which has just barely 1,500 crore after we fought about it and demanded that it be increased. Can this go on? CBI has to ask, because if the overall objective is clean up the NSE, this is part of the cleanup. It also needs to ask why SEBI lobbied, badgered, and got powers of search, seizure, arrest in 2013 with an amendment to the Act. Why are those powers never being used? Why are SEBI orders all about he said, she said, that one said, put it together, and then suddenly one line in the middle which absolves everybody of all responsibility without waiting for a holistic investigation, all different silos of it to be complete. Big hurry to issue weak orders, which are then challenged, which are then diluted. So, first, the 5 orders of 2019 are challenged. Then they are diluted because it tells NSE that you can't access the capital market for 6 months. NSE challenges those orders but says our 6 months are over, which means it's cherry picking what it wants. The regulator is quiet. We describe this in our book as regulatory capture. Has it changed? You change the management, you put in a new managing director in NSE. If the NSE continues to behave in the same way, that it will challenge the orders it doesn't like, claim compliance with what it likes, this is continued regulatory capture. It needs to be examined by SEBI. The clean chit that has been given with one line needs to be re-examined. Throw it all open, okay? And find out why did SEBI also tacitly allow dilution of penalties, which is what I'm talking about, cherry picking and saying 6,000 crore in an escrow can be pulled back. I'm not in favor of money being kept in an escrow and frozen all the time, but I'm not in favor of investigations dragging on. The regulator, a separate, independent, specialized market regulator, was set up to ensure fast investigations. This regulator today is the most powerful capital market regulator in the world because it has been given all the powers. Why will it not act? And if it doesn't act, why will it not be held accountable? Now, CBI has no domain knowledge. In the past, we have seen it being ham-handed and botch up investigations. That's why I'm trying to list it. But there's no denying that NSE's kid glove treatment by SEBI and by the Finance Ministry and the attitude that IPO at any cost, we won't look deep into how the exchange is run because it's humongously profitable, that cannot go on. The country will pay a big price for it because unless there's a full cleanup, there will be more dirt that is hidden. Isn't it an irony that none of this would have come out but for an Himalayan Baba who may or may not exist? If you agree with what I'm saying, you are a trader, you got into the market recently, it is in your interest to push for this cleanup. You have to make your voice heard. You have to make sure your elected representatives ask questions. Remember, so far, hardly anyone has opened their mouth. They will talk about religion, they'll talk about other things, but not things that affect you and your money. Make your voice heard, demand answers. Thank you.